give him a little introduction. So when I was like 23 years old, I had just 23 or 24. I just moved to the Finger Lakes with my ex-girlfriend. She was going to chiropractic school up there, and I had been following Smitty for a while, since I was in high school, and so I knew he was down. Like, he trained out of a gym in Elmira, so I shot him a Facebook message, and I was like, "Hey, man, I'm right up at the other end of the lake. What would it take for me to come down and train with you guys sometime? Blah blah blah, all this stuff." And Smitty shot me back a message. He's like, "Well, what are you doing this weekend?" I was like, "I'm not really doing anything." And he was like, "Well, do you want to go to a seminar at DeFranco's?" And of course, like, me being 23 years old and knowing who all these guys are, I had the hardest boner I think I've ever had in my life. Like, it was real hard. And then so I went down, and Smitty, and I followed him and some of the other guys from Diesel down to DeFranco's. And when we got there, Smitty took care of me, like put me up in the hotel with them and everything. And then we get there, and Smitty was like, "Hey, man, do you want to coach?" And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Do you want to coach this weekend?" And I was like, we had just met, and I ended up coaching the tire flip. It was, I think, the first amped power seminar that they did, which was really, really fucking cool. And so basically the moral of the story is Smitty's a guy that creates opportunities for people, and he's done a lot to put me in really good positions and help me find out what I really wanted to do as a strength coach, and presenting and doing stuff online, all of this stuff. And he's done a lot to really put me in great positions, and that's what he does for a lot of other people. And that's why he is one of the first people that I wanted to have in for 2016 to talk to everybody, because of, not only just from a standpoint of like business and everything like that, which he has taught me a ton about and spent a lot of time with me on, but, over the past 5-6 years, I've been through some tumultuous shit in my life, and he's always been a dude that's really been there for me. So anytime I can get him in front of other people that I care about and I'm trying to help, I'm going to do that. So wow, I fucked that up. Without further ado, Mr. James Smith of Diesel Strength and Conditioning.
That you're trying to get me emotional right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Get all this crying and hugs out of the way.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So we're going to go a little bit different route with this one than we did last time, guys. So Chris and I talked, and we were real stiff for the past couple Q&As, and was like, well, here's this question number 2. And we decided we don't really want to do it that way anymore. So we have some things to kind of drive the conversation if we need to, but I just want us to hang out and talk and see what comes from that. If you need any background, Smitty is fucking killer with online business. And he's also somebody that is really good at just solving problems with innovatively, I guess is the easiest way to say it. So some of the solutions that he comes up with, he's really good. I mean, as cliche as it sounds, like outside the box, just having conversations with him and the stuff that we would do. And I would go to train with him up in New York. It's not going to be the same kind of cut and dry stuff that a lot of other people do. So the biggest thing that I would want to probe if I were you guys is, if you're interested in the online stuff, maybe talk to him about that. And also, the guy figures out a lot of really cool ways to do shit. So his brain works differently than most people. So I would certainly take advantage of that. Or we can all stare at each other. It's up to you.
What do you guys want to talk about? Do you want to talk about business, training? Do you want to talk about life? You talk about all those things.
Someone want to jump in first?
Do you guys hear me like this?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, cool.
Amanda?
Yeah, I want to know what's your ratio of in-person to online that you're doing, and how you balance that, what the process is for that.
Well, actually, I'm doing more group training sessions right now as opposed to online training. Typically, because we go so in depth with the assessment and different things like that for the online, I've kind of shied away recently with online clients as far as, workouts and programs and stuff like that, because I've been focusing so much on products. I feel that, having so many online clients, it's just a nightmare. Like Sunday, my whole day is taken up by writing programs and reviewing workouts and looking at videos and stuff like that. So recently, just the training sessions at the gym, we just got back from Texas, like us doing our cert, creating products. We have probably, I know myself, I have like 6 different products in the works right now, near completion. We have to release those. So I'm just so busy right now, and I can't really devote a whole lot of effort into online clients. So to answer, it's just been kind of training a few groups during the week and then focusing on our membership site and product creation. But yeah, I'll just keep going. I'll just talk all night. But thinking about like the online clients, most people, they typically bring in online clients, and they just ask them their goals and they give them generic workouts. I like to kind of put the ownership back on the clients, and what I mean by that is, if you want me to train you, then I require video from you, video assessment. One of the best tools. Static shots don't really give me the full picture. I want to see how you're moving. So right off the jump, I'm asking them, show me your squat pattern, lunge pattern, your push-up pattern, reach overhead, bend over, touch your toes. Let me see how you move. And then that kind of drives everything from an online programming perspective. So I use that as part of, as best I can, to drive a real-time assessment with each client, and then use that to build their program. So with that being said, you can see like it kind of gets very in-depth, and you have to kind of limit to ensure quality for your online clients. I know a ton of people, close friends that have 30, 40, 50 online clients. I'm like, wow, they're crushing it as far as money-wise. But for me, I can't give the type of or build a relationship that way. It's I think a lot of them use templates, which is great. I would tell you, we can go into systems and building systems for your business for the next 3 days. But when you're creating programs, like individualized programs for athletes, a template's only going to get you so far. There has to be individualized components to the workout, and that's where the initial assessment. But we're always checking in every couple weeks. Hit that squat again. Send me a video. So hit the push up. Every 3, 4, 5 weeks we're kind of reassessing. So it's like an ongoing process. Does that make sense?
Totally, yeah.
Good.
I muted people, so if you want to ask a question, just unmute yourself. But there's a lot of background noise, so if you're not currently talking, just stay muted and stay out.
So I got a question, but it's kind of like a 2-part question.
Okay.
So you said you have templates, right? And then you also have some individualism within that template.
Yeah.
Now, how do you incorporate that with your group stuff? Like, how many people do you typically have at a time with the group training? And then are they roughly on the same program, or is it like, all right, you have a squat, Bethany, you're doing a goblet, Donna, Jean, you're doing a back squat, like whatever.
Done.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know if that makes sense, but like
no, it makes 100%. That's the typical question when you talk about group training. I think the higher level question that sort of everything kind of boils down to, or the conversation typically goes, is how do you make group training individualized? In our group training, everyone's following the same template, but out of that template, because of the assessment that we provided, because when the athlete or client walks in the door, you're always assessing. There's modifications. There's always real time modifications that you make in your programs to ensure that each training session is the absolute best for each athlete. So what I'm trying to say is the assessment told me one piece. Okay. They walked out of the car, they go in the gym. I haven't coached them. Show me this. Okay. And that's going to give me sort of their patterning for that movement, whatever I'm asking them to do. But the thing with assessments is they change throughout the course of a workout or throughout the course of how long they've been on your program. So for example, if I come in and run an FMS on an athlete right out of the car with no instruction like they tell you to do, they're going to get a certain score. But imagine if I ran the FMS on that same athlete after I ran him through a warm-up, a general warm-up, addressing, my dogs are barking. Imagine if I ran that same athlete through a general warm-up after addressing tight shoulders, tight upper back, weak glutes, tight hips, and then had them go through the FMS again. And then imagine if I instructed them a little better on the pattern, actually demonstrated it, and then ran them through the FMS again. So assessments can change, very quickly depending on, the environment that you have them in. So that plus the real-time assessment when they walk in, I can't assume that the athletes and clients are ready to go on that day for exactly what I have written down on this piece of paper. So I have to make sure that I'm doing my job and I'm watching. Okay. Are they getting through the warm up? Are they, kind of moving quickly? Are they moving fluidly? Or they kind of like pushing off the ground to stand up? Or is their head down? Like what state of readiness are they in today? So those two things will help me in a group setting to determine what special or additional exercises, one, I'm going to include in their warm-up, and two, I'm going to include in their training session. So there's a few different terms floating around. We typically call them fillers, okay? I've coined the term intra-workout resets with a new program I just started inside our membership site called Stealth. So fillers and intra-workout resets are basically, how can I ensure that for the workout I have written down here, for the exercises in the workout, that each person that's going to perform the exercise is going to do so with their optimal technique, okay? So, for example, let's say, and we'll get to the individualized group training here in a minute, but let's say, for example, my primary exercise in the workout is the squat. Okay, I perform a general warm-up, and everybody hits their first round of squats. And, client A or athlete A is falling forward. You see the typical indicators, tight ankles. Their ankles are spinning out when they squat, or they're collapsing in. What I might do is, or what I will do is say, well, in between every set of squat, as they're progressing up in weight, I'm going to have them work on an ankle mobility drill. Typically for a compound movement, I'll throw in a static anti-rotation or anti-movement pattern for the core, but also the hips. So we might med ball roll in the hips, ankle mobility, and a quick little plank in between every set of squats. So what you'll find is, and those three might be slightly different for a different athlete in the group, but what you'll find is every progressive set of the squat, that their technique improves. They can stay more upright. Their knees track over their toes. There's less collapsing in their arch. They're not having valgus at the knee. They're more stable under the weight. And in that way, you can make a group training session very individualized. So what I'll do is every group training session has a warm-up and they have a workout. But you can give each athlete, depending on their initial assessment, specific additional drills that they can perform before the group warm-up, okay, for a specific piece of the warm-up. Then when you get into the workout, that's where the fillers and intra-workout resets go for your current assessment, for their current state of readiness. And you can call out, well, Chad, Lance.
Yo,
Chad, Lance,
Norma Jean,
whatever. I want you 3D hip mobility on the bench, and some, traction ankle mobility before you come back to your next set. And I want you to hit that for the next 3 sets. Okay. And then you could call out different, we say soft tissue, mobility, activation drills, those, combinations of those three to another athlete. And they get, in between every person in the set, or every person in the group squatting, they're off to the side, kind of hitting these things, getting prepared. So you can, for our groups, we have the exact same warm-up, exact same workout, okay? But the warm-up is individualized, meaning that they have additional exercises they're going to perform in addition to the group warm-up. Plus, real world, real time, I'm saying, I need you guys to do this stuff in between each set of the primary exercise.
So essentially you're giving them corrective based off that day, that pattern, whatever you're noticing in your assessment, and you're kind of doing that on the fly because you're on them, watching them, noticing this, that, and the other.
100%. So the general assessment that I performed when they came in as a new client, or the general assessment I performed, they're 3 weeks in the program, 6 weeks, 9 weeks, whatever, because I'm always holding them to our standard. Okay. Those are the exercises I can pre-plan, or I can pre-record, or I can get them as that's your, we can set up specific warm-up sequences, whatever. That's what they perform before, when they initially get into the workout. Then we have the group warm-up, and then the real-time stuff happens during the workout.
So last little thing to that. So if you're doing that, how many people do you typically have in your groups?
Me personally, I typically work with groups of 3 to 5.
Okay. So okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you're talking 8 to 10, typically what I would do and what I would suggest is, knowing that many times the group warm-up isn't quite enough, I would have preset inter-workout resets or fillers already set up, where I just programming initially right off the jump exactly how I did their piece of the warm-up, their individualized piece of the warm-up. So I would just have I would have 1A, that's their primary exercise, and then 1B, 1C as their fillers right away. I would just program it instead of being individualized specific for them. I would just base it off what is typically required for that primary exercise.
And that way you can manage over 5 people with,
greater than 5. Exactly.
Right. Okay.
Yep. So I would just build it right into the workout. Absolutely.
Cool. That's badass.
I have a question related to that. How is time management with people doing different things? I mean, even if they're programmed in, like, how are you doing that? 'Cause I know, like, when I was in New York at Fisher's Place, it was like we were doing small groups, and time management was kind of shit, because like people kind of moved at their own pace. Some people needed more attention. So how do you handle that? And are you doing is it an hour group, or how do you work the time?
Usually our groups are an hour to hour and 15. But as far as the extra exercises, because of the time limit, we might cut down on the amount of supplemental and accessory work we do, because we are introducing more inter-workout resets. But the easiest way to ensure transition and shorten the rest periods or active rest periods between the primary exercises is just err on the side of quality. So the reps, I'm not telling them to, if we're doing bench, and one of the things is, well, they're not staying tight in their upper back on the bench and all this stuff. I'm not going to perform a set of 15 to 20 face pulls. I'm going to perform 5 really good quality and just focus on really good contraction. Err on the side of quality in lower reps, and then shorter time duration. So if it's a foam roller, SMR, whatever, they're maybe 10 seconds on each spot that I want them, as opposed to during the warm-up, we might be 1 to 2 minutes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So the intra-workout resets, it's tricky. And I've done the extreme where I've done full sets of the intra-workout resets. But what I found was the goal is better technique, progressively better technique throughout the workout. And I'm going to go off on all these tangents, but progressively better technique during the workout. So the worst thing you can do is perform the fillers and the intra-workout resets too much volume, because you're actually going to take away from their ability to perform the primary exercise, which is your ultimate goal of the workout. Does that make sense? So if I don't want to have tons of volume, heavy weight, I'm just kind of getting them to awaken. If it's core stability, they might be 2 seconds of 5 or 2 sets of 5 seconds on the RKC planks. Boom, getting it done, getting them in a good position, contracting real hard. Okay, get him out, hit the hip mobility, couple face pulls, and we're right back in it. Yeah, and I think that's where people overdo it when they start talking correctives. If you have a good program, the correctives can be built right into it, and you don't have to like do this instead of getting the training effect. You can actually get the training effect and get them better right in the workout if you're just smart about it. And the other thing I was gonna say is, if you restrict your foam rolling, if you restrict your mobility drills, if you restrict your activation drills to just that 15-minute warm-up, the effect is so transient that it goes away. And what I mean by that is we're creating this window of opportunity to train in during that workout. Okay, and if the warm-up is really good, then that means our athletes are going to be able to get into better positions, hit good ranges of motion, have good dynamic motor control through those ranges of motion for that workout. We got this window. But the more I can put in these fillers throughout the full hour, I found if you do that consistently, long term, it has a great impact on that other 23 hours in the day. Okay, so we're fighting a losing battle. We're going uphill. Okay, we're trying to do something in an hour that just totally overcomes all their crappy stuff they do the 23 hours they're not in the gym. They're sitting on playing Xbox, or they're sitting on the couch, or they're just always promoting these bad patterns. And we know that your body will construct or deform according to what the positions and the movements that you're giving it. So if you're sitting on the couch all day, of course, everything is going to shrink toward or restore back to that fetal position, right? So the 1 hour should be focused on opening people up, reverse that fetal position. So the entire posterior chain, upper back, just unlocking everything that's tight, strengthening everything that's weak. I have no idea what I'm talking about right now. I forgot where we were going, but I think what I was trying to say was the more consistently and the longer and more sets and reps and you introduce the exercises and drills that you typically reserve for the warm-up into the workout throughout the hour, over time, it will restore posture. It will restore balance. It will increase strength potential. All these different things that we wouldn't have access to because we focus so much of the workout on training under heavy load, strength training with barbells and dumbbells and overloading movement patterns, because and I know training makes you weak as hell. It shuts you down. It creates all these negative things. It's in the recovery and rest and sleep and good nutrition and all these different recovery modalities where you get stronger. Okay, so if you create better and smarter and more comprehensive workouts with the thought of, the way we do it with the CPPS model is we're always looking to the joint by joint model. Okay, so we're trying to restore people back to the joints that opening joints that are tight, strengthening what's weak. We have two criteria. So we have the joint by joint model where we want to go, and we have the second criteria where this is where everybody's at. Yanda's upper and lower cross syndrome. So this is all the bad stuff. This is where we want to go, and we're trying to bridge the gap to better movement and better position. So
I guess we would almost, like you say, that interspersing it through the workout would like makes the adaptation of the mobility training and everything more concrete, because you're neurologically, like, your system is more open to that change and you're helping it stick better.
In my experience, I've seen that it sticks better. It's just the athletes come in and they're right off the jump, instead of them fighting to get into good positions, they can achieve those positions quicker. Okay. Because their body knows, their body feels it. Their bodies have been in that position so many times before. It's just like greasing the groove. You're all like, one of the best things I've ever used is goblet squats, as far as restoring ankles, restoring hips. It's more of a functional movement. We can attack the tight joints, but if we can do it in an integrated pattern, I've seen a great amount of carryover to an athlete's potential to squat. So we'll do, goblet squats with prime, wall squats, those different squatting positions, and just have them hang out in there for a while and do that more often. And like I said, one of the biggest things that I'm always trying to figure out is the things that we give, the things that we program are so transient. How can we make it stick? And what I've found is just more consistent application, not just like I said, not just reserved for that first initial 10 minutes of the workout. If you can disperse them throughout the entire workout itself, it tends to stick more, and the ultimate goal, listen, what's our ultimate goal? Get stronger. Don't hurt nobody. Okay. So if I've said every time I do a heavy compound movement, I'm going to ensure that my athletes and clients can get into the absolute best position they can get into right now before I start loading the position, then I'm doing my job. I'm not just going to say, okay, well, it's heavy deadlift time. Let's go, and just, okay, well, their back's rounding, or, hip shooting up, or, they're just not doing what I'm telling them to do. And, that'd be my fault. I'm just predisposing them to injury, so I have to focus on always be looking at assessing position. Okay. And range of motion and control. So excuse me, Gray Cook says, we got three things. We got starting position, we got end position, and we got control and range of motion between those two positions. Okay. So every strength training exercise that we do has its own functional position and range of motion. The range of motion and position for bench is totally different than deadlift, totally different than squat, totally different than overhead press. Okay. So we're trying to ensure they get set up in a great position, ensure that they can move through a full range of motion with control, and ensure their end position is just as good as their starting position. Okay. I think Kelly Starrett calls it entering the tunnel. Okay. So if the better position we can get set up for an exercise, the better chance we have at maintaining a good position throughout the full execution of the lift. Okay. But if we start in a bad position, we'll never find it. We'll never find it. We'll be fighting for it the whole way through.
Totally. I think something that's interesting that you were given when you gave Wes his answer is that, and you can, if you already touched on this, I just maybe want some more clarity. So to me, it sounds like you say when someone comes in, we can't be married to anything about the program. So it's like everything is an assessment, and even your mobility drills, you can individualize that as soon as they walk in that day and make changes based on what you see. And I think it's so important that you said that, because I think it's important to let go of those attachments and see that, like, okay, well, this is where it needs to change this day and have a solution for it, I think I'm old enough to say that the more arrogant you are and the more you're driven by ego, okay, the more damaging that is for the ultimate outcome. I mean, your ultimate goal is to make sure people get stronger, they move better, and you don't hurt them. Okay, so
a good coach understands, they have a fancy term, we use it to auto-regulation. You have to ensure that whatever you do during the day, the athlete, like I said, can get into the good position and perform a good lift. Okay. If they can't, then you better change the primary exercise that you're doing, or you better be incorporating exercises to get their technique better. Okay. Before you load it, never load a pattern unless you see the starting position is good. And the rehearsal of that pattern, we have a whole, like standardized warm-up protocol. And one of the last pieces of that is rehearsal of the primary movement pattern. So in that way, you can kind of get a sense of how they're performing the lift on that day. Okay. So you can make adjustments from there, but don't be so arrogant to think that everything that you wrote on this piece of paper, that athlete is going to do today. Okay. Because you're 9 times out of 10, you're going to be forcing them to do something they're not ready for.
100%. Totally agree.
When you do your groups, is there any sort of like common factor between that group, like demographic or age or whatever, or just whoever signs up for that slot?
Typically, I only work with athletes right now. I do have a few individual clients that are like general population, but the groups that I have are typically the same sport.
Okay, that's what I figured. Cool.
Yeah, same sport. Yep.
Cool. Anybody else got stuff to chime in? If not, I have a few things to talk about. No? Crickets? Okay. Fine. That's fine. I'll say stuff. So, I think it would be cool for people to hear a little bit about, the CPPS, kind of what that is and how it works and what you do with it, because I think that's because I got a question today actually from Alyssa, who's in the group right now, and she asked me about the CSCS, and she asked me about why I did it and if she should do it, and I was like, well, why do you want to do it? And she said, I hope you don't mind me talking about this, Alyssa, because I'm going to anyway.
All your secrets.
But yeah, I'm about to spill it. And she said, she really likes the science of training, and she wants to be able to apply certain things from that realm. And I not so subtly said that she's not going to get that from the CSCS. Basically, you're going to learn some stuff for a test, and then you're going to forget about it and go do what you really should do. But I think one of the cool things is just kind of being around for the process of seeing it come together over the years, since like 2010 or whatever, since you guys started doing the Amped and Power stuff and the systems that you guys have put together, that the CPPS actually teaches you to coach and train people. So I think it'd be really cool to hear a little bit about that.
Sure. I mean, I can speak on this because I took the CSCS way back in 2000.
Yeah.
It was one of the first certs I did. I was a young guy out of college, everyone said, what's the best cert? Well, it's a CSCS, So I went. I actually started with the ISSA, which is from Hatfields, and did his certified fitness trainer. And then I did the CSCS in Philadelphia. And then I did, the USAW for weightlifting. And I can tell you, I actually got in trouble. I don't know. Did you go to that training, peak training seminar at Dowdell's in New York City? Were you there?
No, I couldn't go with you. No.
So why I'm bringing that up is it was sponsored by the NSCA.
Awesome.
And they brought me up on the front with all these cool guys like Gentlecore and Kevin Neal. He's at the FRC this weekend, but Perry Nicholson, John Romanello, Joe Dowdell himself, all these guys. And, I'm sitting up there and I'm clueless. I'm clueless. And they asked me about certs, and I said, well, I got the CSCS, and I went and took the test, and I read the book, and I took the test, and I passed the test. But I went home, and I was no better coach. Like, I would not recommend the CSCS. And they're videotaping this.
Damn.
That's awesome.
For a DVD series for the NSCA. And Joe he shot me. Oh, Mike Russell was the other guy by the NSCA, and I was so I had to backtrack. But I can tell you, I took the test. I was so proud. I read the book. I took the test. I went home. I was no better coach. I didn't know how to coach I didn't know how to coach lifts. I didn't know anything about assessments. I didn't know anything about anything. I was just the same guy that read a book, learned these facts, and took a test on the facts. That's it. But with that being said, if you're in the private sector, I think you'll be fine, exploring other learning opportunities like seminars, DVDs, manuals, all kinds of stuff like that. If you're going to public and you're like, I want to be a strength coach for a team, for a school, wherever you want to go and it's an establishment, they're going to be looking for a CSCS. So in that way, I would probably say I would recommend it to you. But if you're not, I would say that you're fine kind of exploring some of the other opportunities. CPPS is a good cert. RKC, FRC, West real world good learning opportunities too. I mean, these two guys, wow. I mean, I wish that these guys were around when I first started because they would teach me. They still teach me today. I still ask Chris and Todd questions about training and to help me out, and I'm trying to learn because here's the cool thing. They sort of use this phrase for masterminding, but like business, I'm in a business mastermind, but they say, like when two or three, brains get together or 2-3 guys get together, this fourth entity is created, this learning brain where like I could never go to all the seminars that Todd went to. I could never go to all the seminars that Chris went to. They could never go to the seminars I went to. But when we get together, all the knowledge that we all learned at all these seminars can come together, and we could create something, or we could teach others. So you definitely want to. We say all the time, just be a white belt, always learning, always a beginner. But even today, I'm still like this weekend. I'm supposed to go to FRC. I'm supposed to go out to the Nike thing for the Kinesio stretch, and I'm always traveling just to learn more. So what that means is, I wouldn't think if your goal is to work at a specific location, get the CSCS. I mean, if that's what they require, but you can be an amazing coach. You could learn like real world stuff just in the strength faction, or if you want to talk about CPPS, I mean, it sort of grew out of the frustration that we had with the CSCS, because I did take the CSCS and I realized, hey, I still suck as a coach. I'm a terrible trainer. I don't know anything. So over the years, like when we did our DVDs and stuff, and then we started this seminar series, and that kind of turned into the certification. We basically said, we want something that a coach or trainer or lifter or someone who loves training can go to for 2 days. And when they leave, they feel confident. They'll know how to program. They'll know how to perform warm-ups. They'll know how to assess. They know power development, strength development, speed development. Like it's sort of an all-encompassing thing that forces you to say, well, I'm learning this information, but when I leave here, I'm also going to know how to apply it very simply. One of the best things you can say for they say the best teachers are ones who can take complicated things and make it simple, explain it simply. If you strength, the speed, the assessment, all those different things, and we make it simple, we put it into like a simple way to learn it and a simple way to apply it.
Yeah. It's awesome. And I think that's the biggest thing.
Okay.
I think that's the biggest thing is
I hope that.
No, it is. It's awesome. I think the biggest thing is you can walk away with something tangible. Whereas if you go to,
It's not.
go ahead.
Yeah, I mean the only thing I was going to say was it makes no sense just to learn a whole bunch of facts. I mean, you have to learn how, or you have to understand how the facts work together as part of a whole system, and then you have to understand how to apply the system for a variety. Okay, so there's no one cookie cutter program that works. I always say it's a puzzle, right? You're like Sherlock Holmes. You come in and you're assessing these athletes, and you're trying to find out what each athlete needs. It's really an awesome thing. That's what I'm really passionate about, just finding what is the issue and how to get each one stronger. And it's an art. It's an art of coaching, and it two ways. It comes with the knowledge that you have, the knowledge you've gained over the years, the experiences you had, but the real world in the trenches knowledge that you've gained over the years, that works in conjunction with, the book smarts. So you have to have two pieces of that, but it happens over time. I'm still learning. The funny thing is I start the whole certification day one. I say, I literally know 1% of all there is to know about fitness. People think I know a lot. I do know a lot, but when you think of everything like physiology, HRV, energy system training, all these different, there's so much avenues that you can explore, and that makes it exciting. But as far as being an expert, there are no experts. It's just people who are passionately curious. If someone, I would caution you, if someone's calling themselves a guru or an expert, I would probably stay far away from that person.
Totally.
Why are you so close to the camera?
Scratching my knee. No, I think that's good. I like what you said about time, though, because I think a lot of times people see where someone like you are or where someone like Chris is, and they're like, they compare themselves to that, and they don't have the patience, and then they try to solve problems that they're not ready to solve. And I think one of the biggest things is like, it's okay, like I'm right here, and I'm still a part of a process that's happening, and realizing that that's it's never finished. Like, so I listened to the Joe Rogan podcast a lot, and one time he mentioned how people think that there's like the top of the mountain and there's this certain attainment, and that's just not reality. It's a swim. Like, it's a constant swim. You're always in it, and just accepting that, and that's how you go forward. I think that that's a big thing for people to accept from getting better as a coach and a lot of other aspects.
It's actually not a swim. It's a float. It's a float.
Jim Smith, everybody.
You're a leaf in the river, and you're just following the flow. If you swim and going against the current, it'll never work.
There you go. What else do we want to talk about, guys?
Dogs barking. Go ahead.
What's that?
He says dogs barking.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't call it really a dog. It's about this big. It thinks it's a dog.
It's awesome.
It's actually a urinating and pooping on the carpet machine that I want to, send through the uprights sometime.
That's how it is. Anybody else have anything they want to jump in with based on those topics? Anything else that they have? If not, we'll jump on to something else. Colin, you look good this evening. It's nice to see you.
Thank you, sir.
You got it, buddy. Okay, so let's do this. So let's go big since we got Smitherman. What's your biggest challenge that you faced in your business over the past year?
I think the biggest challenge is being productive versus being busy. Because I can be busy all day long and not get anything done. So I'm really focusing recently on just high value action items. I track my action items every night, what I want to do, but really I'm just focusing on things that make the biggest impact in the business. You know, I do a lot of finalize, but I end up kind of, you know, my mind's going 100 miles a minute. Everyone's, you know, got that monkey mind. And if you're an entrepreneur or someone's kind of trying to hustle, you're always thinking about the next big thing. So just kind of thinking about and just being more mindful of being in the moment. What I got to do right now, taking care of that. And it doesn't have to be something big. It just has to be accomplishing small steps toward the bigger outcomes. So just being mindful, focusing on one thing at a time. And, you know, if I have big ideas or action items that I want to do down the future, I just write them down and get them out. We call it a brain dump. You know, I suggest everyone in this seminar or video series right now, once a week, sit down with a piece of paper, no distractions, no phone, no TV, you know, and just write down everything in your head. Okay. At our mastermind group, it's called a brain dump. But what you'll find is, like, if you sit there and you just start writing these things out, you might think, well, you know, I'll write down top 10 or I'll just do 10 things. But you end up writing constantly for like 15, 20, 30 minutes. It's unbelievable, all the things that you have in your head going on right now. And once you get them out of your head, there's almost like this silence, this peace, this reflection where you can say, hold on a sec, I'm about to sneeze.
So, is that what happens after your brain dump?
So here's the cool thing. Once you get out of your head, you can go about prioritizing all those things that you wrote down, and you can get on, like, what's the next steps, the immediate things that need your attention right now, and then some of the things you can table for later. But taking a moment to do that can really bring a lot of focus in on what you have to do. Okay. And it gives your mind a break. Once you write it all down, get it out of your head, you can actually focus on one thing. You can get outside your own mind and get some things done. So doing a brain dump, I typically do maybe once a month, but what I end up doing is writing for like 30 minutes. You think that you can't write or you don't have all those things in your mind, but once you start writing them down, I mean, I talking about not only, you know, business stuff, but also personal stuff. You know, there's a piece of it where, you know, don't get lost in being busy for your business and not live your life. You know, there's a whole duality to this whole thing. One, living your passion. You're in your passion. You're working on it. You're getting things done. But the problem with that is you lose the moment. You lose actually what it means to be alive. The purpose of being alive is just living, and living is right now in this moment. So you have to take moments of reflection. You have to take moments away where you can go. It might be vacation, a walk, spending time with your children, all those different things. But you focus on business, do the business, but don't miss everything that's happening around you.
Awesome. What about how do you besides your brain dumps, how do you frame your mindset? Is there stuff that you go through every day to put yourself in the right mind frame to, you know, keep yourself mindful of what you need to do, and also, you know, taking in everything around you and stuff that's made you, I guess would put you in a different space to be productive while also content?
The best thing you can do to be mindful is to meditate. What meditation does is it makes you very, very aware of what's real and the silence. So the silence is always there, but many of us can't see it. And the best analogy I've ever heard for it is, imagine you're out on the ocean. There's a great storm. Okay. On the top of the ocean, the storm is raging. There's huge waves crashing. But if you dive deep to the bottom of the ocean, it's silent. Okay. In the same way, that is your mind. That is the consciousness that's always available to you. In meditating or picking a time to be quiet is a way to access that silence. And what happens is if you take that 10, 15 minutes, take a deep breath, close your eyes, and be silent, what happens is the first 5 minutes you still have all these thoughts coming in, and you don't want to fight the thoughts. You just let them come in, let them come out. But slowly the thoughts stop coming in, or they're coming in very slowly, and then very soon you do have some silence. And what I found for me is if I can access that silence early in the morning and I come up out of that, I'm very clear, I'm very mindful, I'm very right now, and I can really focus on the task I have in front of me. So my best tip, and I can tell you that it's not easy if you're young. I mean, all you young guys out there, you're hustling, you're ready to go, ready to change the world, ready to make your mark. Don't miss the silence, because it's always there. And if you don't access it now, you'll be looking for it later on. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. Who has questions? Business, life, anything? I'm going to keep firing them off if nobody else is going to jump in.
You guys, yep.
Amanda.
Do you have a one or two top books that you are into right now or in life that you love?
Life? Oh.
In
man,
life.
Right. Let me see. I don't know if I wonder if I could turn that around, but I always recommend The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. That's one of the very first. So I give that out to everybody. He's a Sufi poet, and that's his most famous work. I mean, I think he's very prolific, but that's one of the works that was salvaged. I always give out Way of the Peaceful Warrior by Millman. Those different things in those books. It's a way to, I don't know, see. It's kind of hard to explain. I don't want to tell you how I felt about the books, because when you read them, you'll feel a different way, which is exactly what you're supposed to do, But the way they made me feel was that everything's perfect. The struggle that I've been feeling my whole life to accomplish and overcome. There's no overcoming. There's just a flow, and those books really help me just kind of be at peace with everything that's happened to me in my past, that's happening right now, and that could happen to me in the future. The other one that you have to get is The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. There's an audiobook for that. Unbelievable. I put off reading it for a long time. I don't know, just because I've been just focus on like Wayne Dyer and Alan Watts and all these other guys, like Khalil Gibran, Rumi. The Essential Rumi is unbelievable by Coleman Barks. You gotta get that. There's one of my favorite quotes in there. My favorite quote was, "What was said to the rose to open was said to me in my heart." I love that quote. But that's in the Essential Rumi. I don't know. There's tons of books. I'm The Alchemist. I'm finishing reading right now, but I think it's funny. I think if you pick any of those books, it'll lead you down a path of sort of just like it did me. I started with Wayne Dyer, and it kind of went to Alan Watts, and then it went to Rumi and Omar Khayyam and Eckhart Tolle and all these guys. So I think once you read one, it sort of starts you down the path, if that makes sense. But you kind of discover it for yourself.
Cool.
I hope that helps.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Awesome.
Who are some of the people that have influenced your career the most in this industry?
Wow. I mean, I would say Joe DeFranco. Joe DeFranco was one of the biggest influences when what was your name, sir?
Rob.
Rob.
Yeah, I'm the one who makes the really good chili, better than Chris's wife.
Rob, Joe DeFranco, I met him probably early 2005. I went to a seminar of his, and I introduced myself, and he knew who I was, which was surprising because I was kind of doing my own thing. And since then, we kind of started collaborating, and he's really responsible for shaping me as a coach. I read a lot of Eric Cressy. He's really inspiring as a young coach. That I remember he was young, writing on T Nation, and where he's at now. I actually visit him usually once a year. Dr. Spina, he kind of opened my eyes. We always talk about mobility and stability and dynamic control, but I think he was one of the first guys that I've seen in my experience to kind of put a system behind that. I really like that. I think Chris and Todd, I think these guys are brilliant. I remember, first meeting Todd and him sending me the note, and, I thought nothing of it to invite him. And I just saw so much potential, and, that's why I asked him to coach, and, we've been friends ever since. But, in addition, just like all the seminars I've ever been to and certs and all these different things, like all the young coaches that come up to me, they influence me too, because when I hear like how my work has helped them, or I hear what they're doing to help others, it's like so inspiring. Like it really gives me purpose. It fuels my passion to know that I'm helping others, but seeing them help others too. It's like this whole, outward pay it forward type diagram where, all these people are just doing really good work. So I'm inspired by you, and everyone on this podcast. I'm inspired by everyone I meet. And, I just want everyone to get better.
None of you would be sitting here if it wasn't for James Smith. So that's 100% true.
Absolutely true.
So I think that's probably a good place to end. So Smitty, thanks so much for doing this and for your time and everything. Really appreciate it, man. Absolutely. Thanks everybody for taking the time to come out tonight. I hope everybody got a lot from it. And just so you know, we recorded it so you can all watch it again.
I forgot to record, so we actually don't have it, but
yeah. So well, thanks everybody, and good night.
Well, thank you.
Thanks a
thanks,
lot.
guys.
I'm going to add you on Facebook. Okay. Bye.